We're going live on the radio station, too.
WGOW FM and 1150 WGOW AM.
Here we go.
Radio 102.3 FM, the Talk Monster.
Welcome to the weekend, and welcome to The Barbecue Show with Steve Ray. The Barbecue Show is brought to you by the Alston Barbecue Supply and Pro Shop in Ottawa, by the historic Midnight Oil Service Station in Ottawa, by Michelin Tires, because so much is riding on your time, and by all the great barbecue products and supplies at the Owl's Nest Barbecue Supply and Pro Shop. I know you've got questions, and we've got answers, so pick up the phone, 423-267-1023, and let's talk some barbecue. All right, it's the weekend. Welcome to the Barbecue Show Live, coming to you from the studios of Owl's Nest Barbecue in Ottawa via WGOW Talk Radio 102.3. We are live right now, and it's open mic night, 423-267-1023, 423-267-1023. If you've got questions, we've got the answers to your grilling and food smoking for this beautiful weekend that's coming up. Our broadcast partner, as always, is Backyard Smokers Barbecue on Facebook, the #1 destination for questions, answers, and even if you want to post some pictures and do a little bragging, go to Backyard Smokers Barbecue on Facebook. Joe Varner in the studio, handling the radio side of things. Eric Carver here in the Owl's Nest Barbecue Studios, handling the Facebook side of things. And Jeff Maxwell is here with us, handling the chat room on Facebook. So lots of ways to get in touch with us tonight. We're in touch, so you be in touch. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And don't forget, you can catch every episode on podcast on Spotify in podcast form. 267-1023, that is our phone number. If you've got a question about barbecue, now is the night to ask it. We'll be taking questions all during the show, and our special guest, I tell you, it's going to be super weather, folks. Good weekend to get out, get a little yard work done, and when all the yard work is done, finally get out there and fire up that smoker and/or grill, and because it's going to be live fire cooking time this weekend. And with us tonight to field your questions about backyard and pro barbecue cooking is America's #1 cookout coach from the hills of West Virginia, Steve Dotson. Steve, good evening from Ottawa, Tennessee.
It is great to be back on the Owl's Nest show, Steve. It's always a highlight whenever I get that invite.
Well, hey, I appreciate that very much. Steve is a unique fellow. He's accomplished a backyard cook. He is a backyard competitor, a char griller ambassador for all you guys out there and girls that have char grillers. So this guy he's like one. He has the combination to the safe back at the char griller office. He's like one heartbeat away from knowing the secret recipe back at char griller. So what that means is he knows how to cook a lot of different foods, and he knows how to cook on a lot of different vessels. So give us a call at 267-1023, and Steve will do everything he can to answer your question. If he doesn't know, I'll figure it out. If I don't know, Jeff's here, he'll figure it out. And if Jeff and I and Steve don't know, Aaron's here, and he'll look it up on Google. So we'll be able to take care of you. Really, a real quick program note next week is going to be what kind of cooker do you need? And our special guest will be from DerekRiches.com, barbecue journalist Derek Riches will be joining us next week, and he'll be talking about all of the different types of cookers that are available. But tonight, it's all about you for barbecue. We want to hear your questions at 267-1023. Don't be bashful. We have 4 lines wide open right now to serve you. And we're going to go to West Virginia right now, and we're going to chit-chat with Steve Dotson a little bit. Steve, tell everybody here in Chattanooga a little bit about the Steve Dotson journey into barbecue.
Well, I guess, it all comes down to a man who just wanted a good set of ribs one day, and I couldn't find any. So, we got on the internet. We started plugging away. I ran across, at the time I didn't realize it, but it was the Barbecue Brethren's forum. And I got, the recipe for Johnny Triggs ribs. And at the time I had a Weber kettle. I looked up how to smoke on that because that's all I had. That was back in like 2015. For some reason, in 2017, I said, hey, I've done a lot of learning over these past 2 years. let's start a YouTube channel and start helping some other folks that are going through the same journey. So maybe it doesn't take them 2 years to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they get it done in a couple of months, or maybe after the first bad cook, they can talk to me and I can let them know what they did and they can have a good cook. At the same time, you know, we went ahead and went with it's time to get into competition. So since 2018, it's been just a nonstop whirlwind of YouTube competitions, a couple of trophies, getting to come on the Owl's Nest Barbecue Show. It's been wild, man.
I'm sure we're the highlight of your life. We got a caller already on. Caller, you're on line 1. We've got 3 lines open. Gabe, what's your question about barbecue?
Well, I got a question about a barbecue setup, like the grills that are charcoal on one side and gas on the other. Not the top of the line, because I know I couldn't afford that, but maybe a good mid-grade brand name on something like that. I've always done charcoal, but the gas can be quicker and seem more convenient at times whenever I've been at friends' homes, and don't want to get my charcoal all together and just go get a new gas grill, but like to have one that's both.
Well, you got the. I mean, Gabe, you got the guy that represents the company on that one, doesn't he, Steve? I mean, my goodness.
Yeah. So I'm sure. If you don't mind, so what I do is I do a lot of cooking on cookers that I can get at hardware stores, because that's sort of my budget for things. And I think that's a lot of folks' budgets for things. And I think that's sort of what you just described was, you know, I can't buy a Jambo, but I'd like something I can cook good food on. And I got to do this because I'm a char griller guy. I know that if you go to, I believe, Home Depot or Lowe's, they both carry different ones. There's a char griller model there's one called a Duo, and there's one called a Texas Trio. Basically, they're roughly the same idea, though. One side is gas, one side is charcoal, and also you can get an optional side box if you want to do offset smoking on those. Now, it gets a little bit tricky when you get a dual-purpose grill, right? Because we deal with things jack of all trades, master of none. The thing you want to remember is you want to keep a small fire on that charcoal side. Otherwise, your temperatures are going to go pretty high. Is that pretty decent for you?
Okay. All right. So I've not looked at that brand. So what does one like that run roughly? And I know it's going to vary a little bit from the hardware store, but what are we looking at?
It's, you know, I'd hate to put a number on it, but it's definitely in that $200 to $300 range, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Steve, I had the Char Griller brand that Gabe is talking about, and I had it for years and years. Gabe, I think it was like $395. And
Okay.
And I think the box, the offset box was separate, and then I want to say that was like $69. It wasn't a whole lot of money. I mean, that was my very first foray into smoking was on that Char Griller.
Yeah.
Wow.
And,
I haven't done really much smoking. Well, I mean, big time smoking. I mean, I've set up my Weber 18-inch smoking Joe that I've had for 11 years and done small smoking meats and that, but not anything, you know, for 11, 12, you know, hours or nothing like that. But definitely just looking at branching out and want to have the gas when needed on, you know, short preparations to just, hey, fire up the gas grill and throw something on.
Well, I'd highly recommend
Absolutely.
that one. It's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate it, guys.
All right. We got 2 lines open. We've got Kent on line number 2. Steve, go ahead, Kent.
Hey, Mr. Ray, Mr. Dotson, longtime supporters of yours. For Steve, and one question. Backyard brisket, are you going to inject it? If so, what are you going to inject with?
Good question.
You know, so thank you for that question, Kent, from Iowa. But so here's a funny story. I was actually just thinking about this the other day. I've never injected a backyard brisket. Whenever I've done them for videos or for people to eat, I've never injected them. I was just thinking about that today because what a change it's been over time getting into competitions where I inject everything. But if I was going to inject it, to me, you know, I like the more I do this, the more I realize just keeping it pretty simple is where it's at. You know, if I want to use an over-the-counter thing, I'm probably going to use something like a Cosmos Reserve Blend or everybody raves about Butcher Barbecue's prime injection. But even if you can keep it something as simple as beef stock, perhaps, I have a video about the difference between stocks and broths, and with the extra collagen, you get some stock. If you're not a guy like us where you have those extra products lying around, you don't have time to go to Steve's shop in Ottawa, maybe you just drop by the butcher or the grocery store, get you some beef stock, and inject it up with that.
Fair enough. I'm a little disappointed you called me out, though.
Well, everybody in America knows that voice, Kent. Hey, I always inject when I do a brisket. I always like to inject it, whether I'm doing it for a contest or doing it for the family or in the backyard or for customers. It's just something. It's one of those things that kind of can't. It sets your product apart from somebody else's, I feel like. And of course, I use the Butcher's Barbecue brisket injection, and I'll combine that. A lot of times I'll use beef stock, but you know what I'll use, fellas? I'll mix it up a little bit and use vegetable stock. Now, and you would think, well, that doesn't sound right, but it is delicious. Matter of fact, that's what David Bosca uses in contests: is vegetable stock mixed with his Butcher Barbecue injection, and that has a fantastic taste. Almost like a meat and potatoes taste, Kent, and makes a great product. And when people eat it, they think, boy, this brisket tastes different than everybody else's. Because it tastes better, because you do just a little bit more to it. And everybody knows I'm the brisket whisperer. I mean, there ain't nothing about brisket I don't like. And anytime you can enhance it with just something as simple as injection, I'm all about it. How about you, Kent? What do you do?
A lot of times I use a stock or a broth, depending on what I have on hand. Just for backyard. I don't go crazy with it. I was trying to pry a couple secrets out of Mr. Dotson over there. So.
Well, I'm an open book.
I just wanted to say, you guys keep up the great work. I love your show on Friday night, Steve.
All right, Kent. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Yes.
All the way from Iowa, calling about barbecue. We love it. 267-1023 lines open to serve you right now. Our special guest from West Virginia is America's Cookout Coach, Steve Dotson, and he was talking about his journey into barbecue. Steve, tell the folks a little bit about your competition side, because everybody's always, a lot of people don't do competitions, but the way you do it makes it very affordable and practical.
Yeah, so I do what you call it's KCBS, so it's a sanctioned competition, but they have what they call a backyard division, and they should probably rename the division. But basically, what it means is instead of doing all 4 meats, we cook 2, sometimes 3 meats. With that, the sanctioning fee goes down for the organizers, which means that the contest entry fee goes down for the competitors. So you remove things like needing to buy an expensive brisket, needing to buy a bunch of expensive pork butts, and it comes down to I need to buy, a certain amount of chicken, which is pretty cheap, a certain amount of ribs, which is pretty affordable, my seasonings and rubs. And, I get into these competitions for half the price of what the big names do. The fun part about that is last year, KCBS actually started recognizing the Team of the Year rankings for the backyard. So suddenly we had pretty much all the same things that the pros have. So we had a points chase, and we actually had a points chase in the Mid-Atlantic region too. That's what this guy was. We were lucky enough to win that last year, and we finished, I believe it was 9th overall in the KCBS Team of the Year points race. It's a national points race, and 3rd overall in KCBS Ribs Team of the Year. Well,
that just it tells me one thing, Steve, that you're accomplished, and contest food is different from the food that we eat every day. But I tell you, the things that you learn cooking contest barbecue carries over well to cooking for your family and friends, and it gives you kind of a I don't know, I'm not gonna say upper hand, but maybe a little bit more knowledge of what you're cooking. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. So a couple things. People always say that competition food is different, and it is. But if you think about it, it's not different by a whole lot, and it sort of goes into what you just said there. What you and I gain from cooking competitions is I've probably cooked, well over 100 racks of ribs, whereas your normal backyard cooker probably hasn't done that many. So when you and I get into a spot where, geez, company's coming over, but these things aren't quite right, we know what to do to get them right because we've been there. And there's no substitution for experience or a bigger ash pile. So, it does definitely give you an upper hand just because of what we've done.
Yeah, because every time you cook something, especially in barbecue, you learn something every single time.
Exactly.
We're going to take our first break. You're listening to The Barbecue Show live here on Talk Radio 102.3. Our phone number is 423-267-1023. Get on that telephone and give us a call. You've got America's Cookout Coach here, Steve Dotson from West Virginia. If you've got a question, he knows the answer and will help you get going on this beautiful weekend that we're going to have here in Chattanooga. So stay with us right here on Talk Radio 102.3.
Okay,
good job. Thanks for calling, Kent. Tom Ide, you can call. I wish you would. 267-1023, 423-267-1023, Tom. Get on that phone. Give us a call. Steve Jordan, I know you would want to talk to us. 423-267-1023. Get on that phone and give us a call. We'd love to hear from you, too. Everybody that's in chat, pick up the phone. Alvin, I saw Alvin in there just a little bit ago. 423-267-1023, the number you need to call. We're with Steve Dotson, the Cookout Coach from West Virginia. And,
boy, Steve, I thought that first call you got was a joke. I thought you had a plant there for the char griller people.
No, I didn't. But, you talk about that char griller, and thanks, Joe. When we come back, we'll have Sean on line one. I loved him. I used that char griller. I guarantee you I had it 3-4 years. Was the only thing I cooked on. It did great.
Yeah. I can remember when I first started getting into smoking, I wanted to get one of those because the wife wanted a gas grill for the obvious convenience, and I wanted to dabble more into smoking. And just things ended up happening. We ended up moving, actually, which delayed that. And then by that time I got into like competition stuff. So we never pulled the trigger on it. But yeah, it's funny how several years later I work with the same company of the grill that I was going to buy originally to get into the barbecue scene. So it's kind of funny.
I like the company because the products that they make are good. They're affordable, and you can certainly buy one better, but I don't think you can buy anything better for the price.
Well, that char griller, that Duo was $348 at Home Depot.
Gotcha.
See, that's a bargain.
Couple.
That's a bargain, Jeff. Yeah, that's a bargain.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's another one called a Texas Trio, and it might be a specific to because they do a lot of specific models for specific stores. So that might be one that's in like HEB or something. I don't know. Yeah. Well, but they have several of those models.
It's exclusivity. So there's a non-compete, like for that 15% off if you have the same price, same thing. So the Duo goes to Home Depot, and the Texas one is covered by the Ugly Blue store.
Gotcha.
Bryson,
Speaking
we'll get
of
to
the
your
Ugly Blue store.
Bryson, we'll get to your question too, coming out of chat room.
There's something cool coming out at the end of this month that's going to be at that store. It's on their website, so I could probably say it, but it's supposed to be in my hands shortly.
What is it?
It's a Gravity.
Oh, a Gravity smoker.
They've got a Gravity
from char griller.
Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, it's on their website.
That's exciting.
Yeah. That's actually what I'm going to compete on this year.
Oh, okay. You'll like that. You'll like that, I guarantee you.
I definitely want to play with it. It's something different. Like I've ran a big Gravity, kind of like the one you have, Steve, but this is a more compact backyard one.
Yeah, I like that. All right, we've got Sean coming out of the break. Tom is on line too. We'll be
Talk Radio 102.3.
Welcome back to the Barbecue Show live here on Talk Radio 102.3. Let's go to line one. We've got Sean on line two. As Tom, you hang on, one line open. Sean, tell me about your barbecue journey.
My barbecue journey is I just started smoking barbecue when I got out of the Navy as something to just deal with PTSD and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm stuck here in West Virginia with the good old coach. And I was wondering when he was going to break out the West Virginia delicacy of pizza rolls and do a smoked pizza roll. And also, I was wondering his opinion on slushy machines.
Oh, Sean. Yeah. So, well, let's go with pizza rolls. So, I have done a video on pepperoni rolls like at the beginning of the channel, and it wasn't an exclusive video. It was I did pepperoni rolls alongside of Reaper chili, which is funny because I just cooked some chili this weekend live on the Char Griller page. But yeah, Sean, I've definitely thought about it. It just gets bumped, but I'll tell you what, we're gonna make that happen. Maybe that'll be this month's next recipe video. And if you don't know, Steve, it actually may be illegal. I know it's illegal to sell a pepperoni roll in Kentucky because basically it's as it sounds. It's pepperoni and cheese inside of a roll. Yeah. And I believe in the state of Kentucky, for like food safe reasons, they're not allowed to have that stuff on the shelf, cooked meat inside of a bread. There's something funny about that. So I don't know what the state is in Tennessee, but here in West Virginia, that's how we do it. Some people get confused and think it's Stromboli. It's not Stromboli. It's definitely a pepperoni roll.
See, I thought y'all were talking about frozen pizza rolls.
No.
No, pepperoni rolls.
Because I was thinking, what in the world is so hard about frozen pizza rolls?
Now, I'm not going to mislead you.
I cooked chicken nuggets the other morning.
I can knock out some Totino's pizza rolls as well. But yeah, the West Virginia delicacy is pepperoni rolls. So we'll definitely have a video coming out on the Cookout Coach YouTube channel for that shortly. And Steve, what he's referring to with the slushy machine is last July in Spring Grove, Pennsylvania, there was a barbecue contest. It's a big one in our area. And it's usually part of a big festival. Well, they had to shut down the festival due to COVID, but they still needed to raise funds. So they said, hey, we're going to put a slushy machine in the Cooks area. And it's going to be $5 a slushy. And if you could just buy one, get a refreshment, it'll help us keep this thing going. And someone at the Cooks meeting goes, well, are there going to be adult slushies? And they said, yeah, there'll be adult slushies. So they made money hand over fist that weekend at that comp because it was hot. And so people were just kind of getting loaded on slushies. It was an interesting experience, Steve.
Only in West Virginia.
Matter of fact, you should look into slushy machines for the gas station. It's probably a good idea.
Yeah, I'm all over that. Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Thanks. All right, let's go to line 2. I think we have Bryson. You hang on in the chat room. I believe we've got Tom on line 2. What's up, Tom?
Hey, Steve. Nice to virtually meet you.
Good to see you. What's up?
Listen, I have a question on pork butt. I am smoking a butt for a local area fire department, and my pork butts just don't come as shredded, as lean as they should.
Okay. You want to know how to do it?
What?
You still there?
Yes, I am.
Well, Tom, Steve, I'll give him my quick recipe, and you can chime in. What I do is I put the butt, I set the smoker at 285 and put the butt on, season it, inject it if you want to, with Butcher Barbecue pork injection mixed with, you can use chicken broth, you can use beef broth, you can use mango juice, orange juice, lemon juice, whatever you want. And I'll cook it, and I'll take it up to 165 degrees, Tom. And then I take it off the smoker. I cover it in butter and honey, and then I take it, put foil around it and wrap it real tight. Then I put it back on the smoker at 325 degrees, and I cook it until it gets up to 210 degrees. And then I take it out and let it rest, and then you just pull it, and it is, without a doubt, I think in Steve Dotson, I think I saw him shaking his head up and down, is without a doubt the most tender pork butt you'll ever have.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll agree with that, Steve. Basically, the problem that you're running into has to be you're not getting it hot enough, or a different way of saying that, it's not cooking long enough. So, when Steve says 210, that's a good hot temperature, and because pork butts have so much fat in them, they can handle that kind of a cook. And basically, what's happening is you're not getting it far enough to start breaking down all those connective tissues, so all those muscles are trying to hold together still. By taking it up, anywhere from I like to go to 207, but it's sort of going to be dependent on the temperatures you're cooking. I cook a little cooler than Steve. Anywhere over 200, we can say for a rule of thumb, you should be able to take a bamboo skewer or a toothpick, whatever you want to do, and poke it in there. And if when you go to pull it back out, if that meat tugs on whatever you're poking it with, it's not done yet. You need to keep going. But if you've got leave-in thermometers, 210 will be absolutely tender as all get out.
Okay.
Does that help, Tom?
It does. It's a big help. And the injection you use, again, please?
I use Butcher Barbecue's pork injection. I sell it at our store, the Owl's Nest Barbecue Supply and Pro Shop there in Ooltewah, right there at my gas station, the Midnight Oil in Ooltewah. And we also have Heath Ryle's pork injection that you can mix up. You can use, if you don't want to buy anything, you can use chicken stock. Makes a good pork injection, believe it or not. Anything to get moisture down into that butt inside it. The only way to add flavor to a pork butt is to inject it. You can put anything you want on the outside, and the only thing you're going to flavor is the outside. It's not until you either inject it and or when you pull it, adding rub to the product when you pull it, can you get more flavor into it, Tom. But you can use anything you want on the outside. The only thing you're going to flavor is the outside. That's why most of the time on pork butt I'll use just salt and pepper.
Okay. All right. I'll keep you posted.
All right, Tom. Thank you. Let's see.
Thank you.
Jeff, what was Bryson's question there? Can you look his back up?
He's planning on smoking some chicken wings for the first time this weekend. Any advice? And on hand, I have oak and hickory wood for the char griller. Texas offset smoker. Which wood would you use?
Did you get that, Steve?
Yeah, so either one of those is going to be fine. I like hickory just because I'm just a hickory smoke guy. That's who I am. So if you're going to smoke chicken wings on an offset smoker, the biggest thing is going to be, first of all, offset smokers run a clean fire. The second thing is run it hot. For chicken wings, basically what we've got is fat under the skin on the chicken wing, and that's going to keep that chicken wing from getting crispy unless you get it to render. And I recently did a video on this where I was cooking on the Kamado grill. I was cooking on the char grill Acorn, so it's a little bit different, but the same idea in that I think I started at 300 degrees and ramped up from there as they cooked. It's not going to be a very long cook. It might be a half an hour to 45 minutes if you start at 300 or hang out about 300 to 350 and let that fat under that skin render. It'll get plenty of good smoke, and hickory and oak are great because they're both fairly strong smokes. And so with it being a shorter time, a stronger smoke will get you that good flavor. Biggest thing is get that temp up to start rendering that fat under the skin.
Yeah. You might even want to, Bryson, even when you pull them off the smoker, just hit them on the grill real quick, crisp them up a little bit. That's a real good. That's a real good wing right there, Steve.
Yeah, you get that fat.
Get the big wings too. Don't get those little small. I've been buying wings at the local stores, and it seems like they're coming off of midget chickens.
Pigeon wings.
Yeah, they're just teeny. I like to go by Southeast Meats here in town and get Jason's chicken wings. Man, those things they look like they come off of eagles. I'm talking big wings.
I'll tell you what, Steve, I've really been enjoying smoking whole wings recently, and maybe it's just because I pick up a whole wing. It's like that W shape. It feels like I've got something more substantial there, and don't notice if maybe the flat of the drum is small. But I've been doing that recently, and that's been nice.
You even cook that tip, that little nasty tip?
Yeah. Oh. I don't eat it. I'll be honest, I chew on it. I mean, it's got some skin on it.
Good heavens.
You get that skin crispy, it's good. It's good.
You need to move out of West Virginia. Hey, here's a good one, Steve. Emmeline says, any good tips for smoking turkey breast to keep it juicy? Man, that's one of the toughest ones there is.
Yeah, so it's fun. I actually have a video on the channel for competition-inspired turkey. Mm-hmm. And basically, what I'll tell you here is the same thing is that's the case where if you have access to it, I definitely would inject with a commercial product because they're going to have phosphates to help keep it juicy. If I'm really focused on keeping it juicy, I'm gonna butter bath cook that turkey, and that is, I'm gonna get it in a pan to smoke, surrounded by butter, so that fat is going to keep everything nice and moist. And then the last key to it is, don't let it go. Pull it at 160 and let it come up to 165 because turkey is just naturally more dry anyways. Mm-hmm. So if you overcook it, you're out of luck. You can't put that back.
Yeah, everybody's grandmother and mom and dad said, "Oh, you got to cook poultry up to 195, 200 degrees to kill everything." Now 160, everything that can kill you is dead. It's right on the line, dead. It hasn't been dead long, but it's right on the line. So
and so pasteurization is funny, right? Because 165 is the point where everything instantly dies. Mm-hmm. But I mean, if you're exposed, that's how sous vide works, right? If you're exposed to 125 for like 9 hours, you're still dead.
Yeah, absolutely. So, our friend Chris Bilbra from Spec Artisan Meats here in Ottawa suggests that you brine the chicken wings, and that's a good idea. I brine in. I stole this from Chick-fil-A, dill pickle juice. Brine it in dill pickle juice. I'm telling you, you mix some of that with Malcolm Reed's poultry brine and dill pickle juice, and Chris, you're right. You'll have a great tasting chicken wing. We're going to take another break. Steve Dotson, the America's Cookout Coach, is with us tonight, taking your questions here on Talk Radio 102.3. You're listening to the Barbecue Live Show with Steve Ray. Jeff Maxwell tending the chat from Facebook, and we'll be right back after this short message. Stay with us, 267-1023. That's good advice right there, Chris Bilbra. We had a great time. We're going to talk about you in just a little bit. Steve, we went to Spec Artisan Meats. Jeff and I did. We had Chris on the show last Friday. I'm sure you watched it. And we went to I guess it was a butchering lesson of a half a pig that Chris gave some of his customers, and he invited us graciously to come down there, and we had a blast. I had never seen that in real life, and what an art to butchering half a hog.
Him and his daughter are both.
They
know what they're doing.
Haley is very accomplished. Yeah. We watched them make sausage and they got the tenderloin out, and even saw my first. Remember a couple years ago, Steve? The big thing on the internet was the hog brisket. Remember when that started going around? Everybody was wanting to cook a hog brisket, and everybody was scratching their head saying, that. "Huh?
It exists."
So
it exists.
Yeah,
there is a hog brisket.
Well, I mean, I know where it would be.
It's
on your spare rib.
I saw it. We saw it. It's not real big, but we saw the hog brisket, and very, very interesting.
Did you get him to package up, bring it home?
Every part of that pig.
Yeah, except the hoof.
Yeah, the closest I can get to that is when you cook a whole hog and then you got to dismantle it to bag it all up. That's as close as I can get to it. That's reverse engineering butchering, I guess.
Mm-hmm. We did. He uses pork butt for the sausage.
Mm-hmm.
Puts a little bit of put some spices in there, and he puts wine in his. Have you ever heard of that? Have you done sausage yet, Steve?
I've never made sausage. I've smoke cured sausage other people have made, but I've never actually made it myself.
I haven't either. I thought I was going to do that this year as my annual learn how to do something, project. But it's pretty labor intensive. It's a big. There's a lot to it.
Don't you carry Malcolm Reed's breakfast sausage mix right in your store?
Yeah, we sell Malcolm's. Yeah.
Well,
I know.
All you need is a grinder, buddy.
And a caser.
And a caser.
And a caser.
LEM
has all the products.
Hard to clean.
And casings.
Yeah.
You got to get by the casings, and they're nasty.
Get the LEM catalog, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'll just go down the street to Chris's place and just get that in.
Yeah, I was going to say. I was going to say just go down to Chris's and open his up and throw it in a bowl and add Malcolm's to it. Let's see.
So what you're saying is you got options.
Sean wants to know what all competitions are going to be on the Cookout Coach domination this year. You've got like a fan club going here.
Oh, that's I got people I pay to watch the show.
102.3 WGOW FM.
Talk Radio 102.3.
Hey, welcome back to the Barbecue Show live here on Talk Radio 102.3. Our special guest, America's Cookout Coach, Steve Dotson, coming to us direct from West Virginia. We've got, let's see. We don't care where he's competing right now, Sean. Let's see. We've got Larry wants to know what your best advice for a first-time backyard cooker.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, that's one of those things you look back on and you say, what did I wish that somebody would have told me?
Right.
You know what?
Right. So my number one piece of advice for a new backyard cooker is don't give yourself a time limit, because everything will go fine as long as you don't rush things. Don't I've done this. I did this. Don't invite people over and say, hey, dinner will be ready at 5. I'm cooking a pork butt. Don't put that pressure on yourself. Let it go, because there's going to be a lot of learning that's going to happen. You've got to learn your cooker. You got to learn how the meat cooks. So just, give yourself a nice afternoon on the weekend, and just whatever the protein is that you want to cook, just cook it until it's done. And at that point, you can start to figure out how long things take. But yeah, my number one piece of advice, don't rush yourself.
We got phone lines open, 423-267-1023. We're answering your questions here. It's open mic night here on the Barbecue Show Live. I wish someone had told me when I first started was what kind of a smoker to buy. I was just telling you, I had the first one I used was a char griller. And now those things are good, but you've got to tend that fire, and what you're doing is you're learning fire management the same time you're learning food management. And it's hard to learn both at the same time. You're trying to burn a clean fire. The char griller, it's not that well insulated, so you have to really work to keep it up. I was cooking back in those days at 240, 250, and you've got to work like a Hebrew slave to keep it up to that temperature, when I wish someone had told me to go out and buy a Weber Smoky Mountain smoker. That's what I wish they had told me, because I would have bought one. Because it wasn't too long after that I did buy one, and my barbecue game picked up because I didn't have to worry about, Steve, so much of fire management. I could worry about, cooking the meat.
Absolutely. Yeah, the right tool for the right job makes a big difference for sure. But then you get into that enough, you end up like us, and you end up with a whole bunch of cookers in the garage and a small addiction.
Yeah. Now, Larry also, he added, he goes, I meant for a comp. So the backyard advice for a backyard cooker. My advice, Larry, is don't do it, because you are going to go down a road that I don't care what level you're cooking at. It's going to be expensive. You better have a good job, and you better have some disposable income at your side, right, Steve?
Yeah. So I guess my number one piece of advice for a backyard competitor would be to make sure you run full practice at home before you ever get there, to make sure that your timelines are right. Because the last thing you want to do is to throw in a 10-minute window on top of something you're unsure of. You need to be able to get there and trust that what you plan to do is doable. So run a full practice at home. And if that one doesn't go well, run another one.
And when we talk about a practice, Larry, we're talking about timelines. Pretend that you're at a contest. Wake up at 6 or whenever you want to, or put your meat on at 3 in the morning and try to get some rest.
Build boxes.
Yeah, build a box. Learn to build a box. Learn to garnish a box if you're going to do KCBS. I'm going to tell you something, Larry. What I would do, looking back on it, I would learn to cook hot and fast from the get-go if you're going to compete, and learn how to get enough rest and still being able to put out a good product. Because what you'll find is when you're new at that, you're up all night, and because you're worried about your meat. You know, your first thing you're always worried about is your smoker. Is it going to go out? And I don't care who you are, that always crosses your mind. You know, what happens if my smoker goes out? Because they don't let you use a microwave, do they, Steve?
No, they don't.
The microwave is out of the question. So make sure that you've got a program where you can get some rest and still get your meat. I'll tell you another thing too, Steve. What I would remind everybody to do, especially you see on backyard. Let's see, y'all just cook what? Pork butt and ribs, right?
No, chicken and ribs.
Chicken and ribs. So you don't even do pork butts.
You do it sometimes, but
Okay.
it's not required.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Less than half the time we cook pork butts, so it's a pretty relaxed cook.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you're doing chicken and ribs, you can get plenty of sleep, Larry. So that's not. That's not a real big deal. What I was going to do is if somebody was sleeping or somebody was doing a pro comp, whittle that meat down, cook the smallest amount that's legal. You know, instead of trying to do a big old 10-pound butt, bring that thing down. I think it was 4 pounds 1 ounce or something
4
like
pounds.
that.
Yep.
Carve it up and cook the best part and cook it fast and then get it done. Because you're only cooking, everybody thinks in a contest you're cooking for, 70 judges. You're not. You're cooking for 6 people each time you turn in. In backyard, you're cooking for 12 total. And in a professional, you're cooking for 24 total. So you're only cooking for, 6 people at a time. So that's all you're trying to impress. That's all you have to impress. Or 6 people. You don't have to impress, 70 people. So get your proteins down where they're manageable.
Yeah, I changed my my pork program this year to where even when we do cook pork, I get up at 6. None of this overnight stuff. But if you like to cook overnight, cook overnight. But yeah, there's a lot to getting a good night's sleep.
And if you're doing chicken, do thighs. Do you do thighs or legs for competition, Steve?
I do thighs. Every once in a while, I start to get a wild hair. I'll go to legs so I don't have to trim it. But the thing about legs that I hear from people that do them is you end up having to sort through so many legs because apparently the secret there is you need everything to weigh the exact same amount. And I just don't want 40 chicken legs in my freezer that got cold from picking through for competition. I'd rather just trim the thigh.
All right, let's see. We've got Jeff, any questions coming out of the chat?
Yes, we have one from Emmeline again. She's asking, would smoking pork chops, can be bone in or bone out, either way, be the same process you described for turkey? Forgot to ask what type of flavor would.
That's a good question, Steve. Go ahead.
Yeah, so for turkey, you can do any kind of wood you'd like. I would probably go with a fruit wood, but it's going to be a pretty quick cook, depending on the size of the turkey breast that you're talking about. Even full turkeys, for me, I cook in 3 hours. So I like to run apple or cherry wood on those kind of things. Now, the pork chop, what I would do is I would reverse sear that thing if you wanted to smoke it. So put it on a cooker at a low temperature. It's don't get too hung up on what the temperature is. When I'm reverse searing a steak or a pork chop, it'll land somewhere between 200 and 240, and I just kind of let it rise up as time goes on because in about 45 minutes, it's going to get to a steak example, we get to 100, or a pork chop, we're going to go ahead and take that up to probably 125, 130, because pork chop would be done at 145. And when it gets to that point, pull it off, let your fire get extra hot, and then sear it like you would normally. That's how I would smoke a pork chop. And the fun part about smoking pork chops is actually, because I had one recently, it starts to smell like bacon because that's pretty much what you've got going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty nice. Steve, how would you do that?
I like the reverse sear method. If I was going to do pork chops, I would make sure I got those big thick ones. I don't want any of those little small ones. And that goes for pork chops or even any kind of steaks. A lot of people get a big old steak. They say I want a 2-inch steak. Go down to Specs. Say, "I'll give me a 2-inch steak, Chris." And they come home and they try to grill it. And man, you just can't do it because you end up getting the outside black and the inside rare, and it's funky. And if you just take the time and you can do this on a gas grill too, Steve. Set up one side, start it, and put the meat on the other side where it's not hot, and use that grill as an oven, and cook the meat a little bit slower. And I can a pork chop. Steve said take it up to about 130, and then or on a steak 120, 125, and then crank up that grill and then finish it off on the grill side, and you'll have a nice taste, a nice bite on the outside, and the inside will be just perfect, and you won't believe how more tender that your meat will be. You've heard of those steaks, Steve? People say, you can cut it with a fork. But then when you try one at home, you go, I can't cut mine with a fork. But yeah, you'll be able to do it with this one.
I'll tell you what, the biggest thing with either of those cuts is get you an internal thermometer. It doesn't have to be an expensive one. It doesn't have to be a Thermopin. But there's people that tell you, I can tell where a steak's at by doing this with my hand. They're lying to you. Unless you cook the exact same steak from the exact same cow every single day. I'm talking about not switching cuts. There's no way that I know what it feels like. No, you don't. No, you don't.
We've got instant read thermometers at my store. They're only $21.95, and they work great. Hey, we're going to take our last break. You're listening to the BBQ Show live here on Talk Radio 102.3 with our special guest from West Virginia. It's America's Cookout Coach, Steve Dotson. We have lines open to serve you. 267-1023, 423-267-1023. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
People say that they can, push it, but that distalis is going to have a different temperature than that main portion, this portion of the steak. It's going to be 15 degrees hotter, no matter what you do.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I have some friends who've tried to tell me that, like, well, I was telling one buddy to get an internal read thermometer, and then this fellow decided to go off on you don't need that. It's just this. So my buddy got the thermometer. He got a Thermopin and he got a Dot, and he cooks chickens a lot right now. And he goes, it's amazing how much better a chicken is. I'm like, yeah. That's funny how that
what's
works.
going on inside of it. Yeah. No kidding. And a lot of people, they get those big, thick New York strips, and you can do it on a grill, but you can't do it at 600 degrees. You got to bring that grill down to 350, 400, and do it slow.
If they wanted like 2 inches, I agree you can't do it. 1.5 inches is pushing it, but I've seen people do it. But the biggest thing that you get new people trying that you just can't pull off is they'll go to grill it and they won't shut the lid and they won't have it preheated beforehand. So look at competition steak cookers, right? They've got their PK or their Weber or whatever, and the grates are at 600, but that lid's been closed the whole time. So that whole thing is 600. So they're grilling it, but they're also baking it at the same time, for lack of a better term. Whereas I did it when I was new. You go to grill a steak. While I'm grilling a steak, you think of like those old park grills, right? Where it's just open. There is no lid. You throw the steak on the grate and you watch it. And you're not getting near as much cooking action when you do that kind of thing.
Right. I agree with you. Keeping that lid closed. I like that a whole lot. Let's see. Larry says, Emmeline, you're so welcome. Larry says, hey, Steve, I am from West Virginia, too. So Larry's one of your fan club members from the big.
I'll probably see Larry at some competitions this year. Then he was asking about how to get in the competitions. We've had a lot of growth in the backyard scene in West Virginia last year and this year.
Well, that's good. That's a good thing.
Yeah, that's good.
That's a good thing.
They're going to run me out of it, though. I won't be able to repeat last year if they get too many more people in here.
Yeah, you will. You'll be all right. You'll be all right.
I probably should have started there, to tell you the truth.
We did. The first contest we did backyard, and then we were watching the pro awards, and they didn't. I said, why are we doing backyard? I mean, might as well just go pro. It's not that.
Until recently, there wasn't anything for you.
Radio weekdays. It's Sports Talk on 102.3 FM.
Talk Radio 102.3.
The Barbecue Show live on Talk Radio 102.3. Also broadcasting to the Owl's Nest Barbecue Facebook page. You can listen to us. You can watch us. You can watch us and listen to us every Friday night at 7 right here on Talk Radio 102.3. Our guest tonight is Steve Dotson, America's Cookout Coach, and we are taking your questions about barbecue at 267-1023. If you want to get in, we still have time to get your question to Steve or myself, and we'll help you get going on this beautiful weekend that we're going to be having here in Chattanooga. And Steve, what are you going to cook this weekend? What I know y'all are having good weather up there in West Virginia. What are you looking to start this weekend?
Well, actually, it's kind of funny. I've got a competition at the end of this month, so I'm knocking the rust off, and I've got just a single rack of ribs and 8 chicken thighs, just to make sure I still remember how to do it. Mm-hmm. I'll knock those out. I was going to do it tomorrow, but it's been a long week at work, so I might wait until Sunday to do that.
Share with everybody. We have 3 minutes. Thank you, Joe. Share with everybody your rib method in 2 minutes. Give me the elevator.
So basically, I cook it 275 degrees on my cooker. It's a vertical cooker, so think things like Weber Smoky Mountains, Char-Grilled Acorns, cans, that kind of thing. I have a heat diverter in place, and those ribs are going to go on that cooker for 2 hours at 275. At that point, the rub is pretty well set. It's going to go into some foil. You know, I like to keep it simple. I'll either use Heath's Butter Bath and Wrap, which is just an over-the-counter product, or brown sugar on the bottom with Parquet butter, meat down, brown sugar, Parquet butter, and some Cosmos rib glaze on it. Mm-hmm. I like the cherry apple habanero. Wrap it up tight, back on the cooker. In about an hour, they're hitting 208 to 210. I like to pull them off, throw them into a cooler, and let them rest for an hour. You don't have to do that, but I just do. Slice them up, sauce them, and serve them.
That sounds good. Hey, we've got Craig Sherry's Texas pepper jelly on the way from Craig's place down in Texas. And if you have not seen this stuff, folks, it is fantastic. It is a jelly, the glaze that Steve was talking about. And it really does elevate your ribs no matter whose you use, doesn't it? It's a great flavor.
Yeah,
Steve
it keeps
Dotson,
your ribs from coming out of the wrap flat.
Thank you so much. You hang on for the Facebook people. I want to say thank you to Chris Bilber, who was nice enough to have Jeff and I over last Tuesday night at Specs Artisan Meat, and we had a fantastic time watching him butcher that hog, and hopefully we'll get to do that again in a short while. Don't forget, next week we're going to talk about what kind of grill do you need if you're into this, if you're just now getting into the outdoor live fire cooking, you're not sure what you're needing. Our guest will be Derek Riches from DerekRiches.com, and we will be talking with Derek. In the meantime, go to DerekRiches.com. It is a fantastic website. Derek has recipes. He has reviews of literally hundreds of smokers and grills, and I'm talking grills from under $1,000, over $25,000. So if you want to see what the rich people cook on, you can go to that website too. Steve Dotson, thank you so much for being with us. And for everybody listening on the radio side, we say good night and good luck. And everybody on the Facebook side, we'll be staying with you for just a few more minutes. Joe, thank you very much. We'll see you back here Friday night on Talk Radio 102.3 for the Barbecue Show Live. All right, we are clear on radio. Thank you, Joe, very much. We appreciate it. Steve Dotson is still with us here on Facebook. Let me see if we have any shows. Tom Ide says, thanks for the tip on the pork butts. Good show. Glenn, you are so welcome. Thank you for watching, Glenn. And Larry, thank you for the question. Emmeline, thank you for the questions, too. Alvin, thank you for listening always on Friday nights here in Ooltewah. Alvin just lives right down the street from me, and he's one of our bestest customers in the barbecue shop and at the gas station as well. Hey, I want to tell everybody real quick on the Facebook side, I forgot to mention this on radio. Michelin is starting they've got a fantastic sale. I believe it starts the 14th of March. They're going to have rebates up to $120 on a set of 4 Michelin. So if you are in the market for tires for your truck, Steve, for you're starting the competition season, if your truck is in need of tires, find your local Michelin dealer, and they will hook you up with a great set of Michelins. If you're here in Chattanooga, of course, you know where you can go. My place, the Midnight Oil and Noodle Off, for a great selection of Michelin tires. We'll have all the information on the rebate as well. Steve Dotson, where is this contest you're going to?
Urbana, Virginia, which is a little bit south of Richmond, right up on the bay.
Wow, that's a good little trek for you, isn't it?
It's about 6 hours, but it's double, so
So a double contest, you'll roll in on Thursday or Friday?
Friday. Cool. Yeah, Friday we'll compete Saturday, reset, do it all again Sunday.
And you'll
come home hopefully with some hardware.
And you'll drive all the way back from there and be ready to go to work Monday.
So that's the silly game we play, Steve.
Man, that's a lot of driving.
Yeah, so last year with COVID, we only got 7 competitions in, and I think we could have placed a little bit higher in the KCBS Team of the Year rankings if we would have got a few more in. So this year, I don't want that to be an excuse. So we're gonna chase and give it all we got.
My friend Perry Collins says, "Hey, I'm just a week late on that Michelin sale." Perry, we can handle that. We can take care of you. We can be glad to take care of you on that rebate. We know how to do that, so don't you worry about that. We'll get you a rebate coming your way too. Let's see, make sure that everybody's cleared out on this thing. I think we got everybody, Jeff.
We got all the questions.
Yeah, Alf Salvage, thank you. My buddy Al Salvage says, "Great show, Steve," and it was a great show. You're a fantastic guest, and I appreciate your time and appreciate you being with us. All right,
it's always fun to come along, Steve.
We're gonna
appreciate it.
You betcha. All right, we're going to get out of here, everybody, until next Friday night with Derek Riches.